2016 Republican frontrunner Donald Trump and his GOP rival Jeb Bush is now reaching a boiling point. Now, the two candidates are going at each other over the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Now, here's what former Florida Governor Jeb Bush has been saying about Donald Trump in recent days. Take a look.
Look, my brother responded to a crisis, and he did it as you would hope a president would do. He united the country, he organized our country, and he kept us safe. And there's no denying that. The great majority of Americans believe that, and I don't know why he keeps bringing this up. His view of history is just wrong. The simple fact is that when we were attacked, my brother created an environment where for 2,600 days we were safe.
All right, here to respond to those remarks, 2016 Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump. Mr. Trump, welcome back, sir. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you, Sean.
What is your reaction to the ongoing feud?
Well, number one, I really respect the fact that Jeb is sticking up for his brother. I mean, I would stick up for my brothers also, and he's sticking up for his brother, and I understand that. But this all started when he said that we're safe, you know, the country was safe. Well, the World Trade Center was just attacked. It fell down. 3,000 people were killed. Thousands and thousands of people were injured, and to this day are injured. And it was the worst attack in history. So you can't say he kept our country safe because he was president. You know, as Truman said, the buck stops here. So he was president. And if you look at my book, which was written a couple of years prior to the attack, I actually mentioned the name of Osama bin Laden, that he's a bad terrorist and we have to do something about it. And when one of your competitors heard about it today, they said, whoa, whoa, this is amazing. Trump actually predicted it. Because I actually said in the book that something would happen. Nobody talks about it, but I actually talk about the name Osama bin Laden.
I have the quote. Let me put it up on the screen. This is exactly what you wrote. This was in a book you published in 2000, The America We Deserve. You said, I am really convinced that we're in danger of the sort of terrorist attacks that will make the bombing of the Trade Center look like kids play with firecrackers. No sensible analyst rejects this possibility, and plenty of them, like me, are not wondering if, but when it will happen. In the book, you also wrote, quote, one day, we're told that a shadowy figure with no fixed address named Osama bin Laden is public enemy #1, and U.S. jet fighters lay waste to his camp in Afghanistan. He escapes back under some rocks, and a few news cycles later, it's on to a new enemy, a new crisis. How could you have stopped it?
I mean, I know what's happening, Sean. I know what's going on. I think I could have stopped it because I have very tough illegal immigration policies, and people aren't coming into this country unless they're vetted and vetted properly. If you look at what happened, George Tenet, who was the head of the CIA, first of all, the CIA and the FBI and everybody else, they weren't talking with each other because they weren't getting along. That's leadership. You have to get everybody to get along. Second of all, George Tenet predicted an attack. George Tenet said there's going to be an attack. They should have done something about it. So I'm not blaming anybody, and this started very innocently when I said, you know, to somebody, frankly, that didn't really matter. I said, listen, the World Trade Center came down during, you know, there's nothing safe when the World Trade Center was attacked and came down during his reign. Well, that's not safe because he said, Jeb said, our country was safe. Well, that's not the case. And then if you want to go a little further, he then attacked Iraq, which turned out not to be the right country because they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. And, by the way, the terrorists sent their families home to Saudi Arabia. They didn't send them home to Iraq. They sent them home to Saudi Arabia, which is another thing for people to think about.
You know, Mr. Trump, the only disagreement I have is we knew that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction because we have the images of the Kurds that were slaughtered and little children and women in the streets. We knew there was a chemical attack, and the world intelligence and fairness also thought that. I want to add another element to this. There's an unknown...
Well, you know, by the way, but they never found him. You're right.
They didn't find him.
They never found him.
I think they probably moved him to Syria myself.
Well, I don't know. They never found him. And frankly, he probably used them against Iran, which really was beautiful. I mean, not that they used the weapons, but the beauty of it was you had these two countries that were equal in terms of strength. And we decapitated one of those countries. And now Iran is taking over Iraq and everything else. And ISIS is taking oil, and Iran is taking oil, and they're taking over the whole country. So it's turned out to be really bad. With that being said, I respect the fact that Jeb is defending his brother. I think that's good. I would do the same thing.
One point I've always agreed with you on is that if we liberate Kuwait and we liberate Iraq, they need to pay us for the liberation. We need to give money to the families that lost brave American soldiers or are injured now for the rest of their lives. We don't do that. And I also think that if Obama would have held the ground, ISIS never would have emerged. He wanted to pull out for political reasons.
I love that you bring up Kuwait. Kuwait had nothing but money. They get attacked by Iraq. They take over Kuwait. The rich Arabs go and they move into London, as you know, the Kuwaitis, they moved into London. They didn't take a room like you would, or maybe even I would. They took the entire hotel, and they lived like kings. And then we attack. We lose lives. We spent billions of dollars, and we give back the country for nothing.
Nothing.
And they don't even want to invest in. And then I told them, I had them in my office a few months after that. They don't like investing in the United States, okay? We gave them the country back for nothing. We should have said, we want 50% of everything you make for the next 50 years or permanently. And you know what? They would have agreed to it. We gave it back for nothing. Why did we do that?
We're a stupid country. That's the answer. We negotiate bad deals. I agree with you. Let me play for you. I want to add another element to this whole how come America wasn't prepared for 9/11. In a little-known speech on Long Island that Bill Clinton gave in February of 2002, the audio's a little sketchy, but I want you to pay close attention where he said, well, we knew he wanted to commit crimes against America, but I had no legal basis to take him. And I think he missed the opportunity. You had published 2 years earlier what a bad guy bin Laden was. Listen to Clinton admit that he could have gotten him, but he failed to take action. Listen to this.
Mr. bin Laden used to live in Sudan. He was expelled from Saudi Arabia in 91, and he went to Sudan. And we did a period with Sudanese. He wanted America to start dealing with them again. They released him. At the time, 96, he had committed no crime against America, so I did not bring him here because we had no basis on which to hold him. So we knew he wanted to commit crimes against America. So I pleaded with the Saudis to take him because they could have, but they thought it was an arbitrator, and they didn't, and that's why I wound up in Afghanistan.
So the key words are he committed no crimes against America, so I didn't bring him here because we had no basis on which to hold him, even though we knew he wanted to commit crimes against America. Now, here's the point. In 2000, you identified him as a citizen, a private citizen. And Bill Clinton knew he wanted to commit crimes against America, had the opportunity to get him, and didn't take him. Doesn't he bear that responsibility?
Well, he made a mistake, but I will tell you that if I were there, I would have taken him out. Now, I wrote about him in my book, and when I talk about the World Trade Center, that was the first attack, which was, compared to what happened, ultimately relatively minor. But I talk about Osama bin Laden in my book, and people can't believe it. They're just starting to read that book. That was the only political book I had ever done, and people are just starting to read that book, and they can't believe that I mentioned the name Osama bin Laden. Remember? And he ought to crawl under a rock, but we have to get him. And Clinton made a mistake, and frankly, Bush should have taken him out. Somebody should have taken him out. I think I would have. But I think my immigration policies would have gone a long way to helping us also, Sean.
Well, I think the immigration policy, we're now facing a crisis. You see what's happening in Europe. There's a huge backlash because of Syrian refugees and Iraqi refugees and the cost. We're being told by our National Intelligence Director that ISIS and Al-Qaeda, not if, they will infiltrate the refugee community. This president is committed to nearly 250,000 coming to America. That tells me we have a pre-9/11 mindset again. Your thoughts?
I was always a big fan of Merkel from Germany. I'm not a fan anymore. What she's doing is insane. And we want to take in 200,000, and we don't know where they come from. They have no papers. All we know is they're young, and they're strong, and they're mostly men. And this could be the greatest Trojan horse ever. This could be bigger than the original Trojan horse. We shouldn't be taking anybody. We have enough problems. We have to rebuild our country, our infrastructure. We owe $19 trillion. And by the way, taking in 200,000 is going to cost us, they just did a study, over a period of 10 years, going to cost us billions of dollars. What are we doing? Merkel made a tremendous mistake. They're going to end up having a revolution in Germany. You see what's happening with the German
100%.
people. Now, what we should do, at the same time, from a humane standpoint, take a big chunk of Syria and let's all put some money into it if we have to, because on a humane basis, and build a safe zone, what's called a safe zone. Let the people, but to allow them into Germany and to allow them into these other countries where there's nothing but a horror show, you see what's happening, and now we're going to take in 200,000 people in this country?
Insane.
And we can't breathe. I mean, we don't know what we're doing.
You know, and I suggested the same thing. Make it a secure zone, offer humanitarian assistance, offer food, water, medicine, supplies,
Fine.
and keep them within Syria. All right, to close the circle on the feud with Jeb, if Jeb wins the nomination, will you support him?
Absolutely, yes. I would absolutely support him. He's a good person. He's a good man. I would support him.